Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players, I'm your host the RJB0, welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. So when you ask a typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Player what they think goes into determining a card's price, they'll tell you two things. The two factors are rarity and how good that card is. But I'd actually argue that there is one factor in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Market that is just as important as those things, if not more important. And that factor is market environments. In fact, I would argue that market environments can be one of the best profit makers in a Yu-Gi-Oh! For a smart Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. And I'm going to get to that at the end. But first I'm going to give you guys an example that illustrates how objective quality and market environments are two different things. So a market environment is any outside factors that are likely to change, which determine the demand for a card. So in Yu-Gi-Oh! That would be something like a ban list or new cards being announced. To a degree, reprinting, but that has more to do with rarity than market environments. So a market environment is any changing aspect about the game which may change the demand for that card. Now that's different from objective quality, and I'll show you why. Let's take two examples of cards that are the same rarity and are similarly popular. So you've got Wolfbark and you've got Abyss Megalo. Wolfbark and Abyss Megalo are both used in threes in the decks that they go in. They're both very popular cards. They're both parts of high-tier decks. But Wolfbark, at the height of its price, was $60. At the height of Abyss Megalo's price, it was $110. So what made that difference? Well, objectively, is Megalo a better card? No. On its face, Megalo is a minus. You have to discard two cards to summon it from your hand, and you only get to search out one. And Wolfbark is guaranteed to be a plus, because if you have a Beast Warrior in the graveyard, you're almost always going to be able to summon that or force your opponent into a Veiler. So objectively, Megalo, on its face, is not necessarily a better card, but let's look at the card environment. Both of them are part of high-tier decks. That's true. In fact, they're both part of top-tier decks, two of the what are considered the best decks of their formats. But at the same time, even though Wolfbark is used in even more decks, we have to consider the market environment of the two cards. Now, when Wolfbark came out, it was not used a whole lot. 4-Axis Fire Fist existed, and it topped a few regionals, but after a while, Dragon Ruler players figured out how to get rid of them. These days, Wolfbark is a part of two of the really high-tier decks, which are Fire Fist and Fire Kings, and those are very popular, and they're in the top tier, but they have a lot of competitors in the form of Mermails, Spellbooks, Boojins, what I was about to say, Prophecy, etc. You guys understand, you've got Harpies, all sorts of things. All of these decks are very good decks, very popular, and all sit up in the same high tier that Fire Fist do. When Megalo came out, there were really only two decks that were competing at a main level, and those were Wind-Ups and Mermails. Dino Rabbit came back a little while after that. But you guys get the idea. Mermails and Wind-Ups were basically the two decks that you saw the most representation from. So as you can see, the card market that Megalo came out in at its highest price was much more conducive of it having a higher price than for Wolfbark. Now, how in the world is this going to help you to make a profit, knowing these things? Well, you can actually spot an objectively good card in a bad card environment, and that is how card prices can really fluctuate. So take Big Eye. Big Eye is a great example. Big Eye is an objectively amazing card. If you can put it on the board, you can detach a material to take control of your opponent's monsters essentially for free, advantage-wise. So if you had a deck that could take advantage of it, say by spamming level 7s, then it would be a spectacularly good card. But at its release, it was only $10 because people hadn't imagined the possibility of it getting the kind of support that would make it a viable card. Another great example of a card that hasn't really met its perfect card environment is Cesar Born. Cesar Born got about a $10 hike a while back at the beginning of the format after Hidden Arsenal 7 was released, when Ophion became legal, people like to bring back Ophion with Cesar Born, and it got about a $10 boost. But objectively, Cesar Born is a very good card. It allows you to special summon an Xyz monster from your graveyard, it's chainable, and it gives that Xyz monster an extra material for its effect. So you can bring back a Dolka and negate another effect. You could bring back a Big Eye and steal another opponent's monster. You could bring back Pleiades and bounce another card from your opponent's side of the field. There are just a ton of ways that that card can be used and abused, but right now it doesn't have a very good card environment. There aren't any decks that are likely to take advantage of Cesar Born, so it stayed at a relatively moderate price in comparison to how good it is of a card objectively. So those are a couple of examples of how objectively very good cards get overlooked for a long time. Fiendish Chain for a long time was only like $3 because people thought it was bad because they didn't realize that keeping an opponent's monster from attacking and negating its effect would be an amazing effect to have. And a little while later, it became a $40 card. So that's something you definitely want to keep your eye out for. Market environments can determine how expensive a card is going to be just as much as the objective quality of the card. And when you combine the two, you get some pretty amazing price spikes. So that's definitely something to look out for. Look for objectively very good cards that are in a bad card environment that usually are high rarity is something to shoot for, and you want to kind of collect those on the margin when you can, and that is actually a smart investment for the future. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below. And then, of course, subscribe for more decks discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Meanwhile, thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! and Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.